Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. I want to introduce our super special guest. Again, like we mentioned, this is our last episode for a little while, so we definitely wanted to have somebody on that was going to be really special to us. Kimberly King, I want to thank you for being with us today on the show. You authored a book that we use at our office very frequently, so I wanted to just give you a chance to sort of introduce yourself, and once again, thank you for joining us on our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and talk about the book and about sexual abuse prevention. And I'm so thankful for the work that you all do at your center. So I'm an author of 3 children's books. I write books on tough topics for kids. And I wrote the I Said No book following an incident that my son had with a friend at a sleepover. So it kind of sparked me into getting into the topic and researching. And I joined Darkness to Light, where I took the Stewards of Children training and I became a facilitator. And so it's kind of been my passion ever since this event with my son happened, that I try to get out there with parents and camps and schools and churches and things like that, and just do small parent chats or Darkness to Light training, just to talk about it. Because unfortunately for me, I didn't have any idea that my 5-year-old would have an encounter with a friend. Like I was more focused on the man in the white van and stranger danger and going down all these tangents, and I didn't even think about some of the things that could happen and do happen to kids. So I kind of focused my safety prevention in the wrong spot. And so I actually couldn't find any book out there that was really about like what kids might encounter. So we got into all these scenarios, we started writing, we started journaling. And so the book is really just like a result of our journaling and talking over the year after that event happened with my son. So that's where it started. And I just do a lot of chatting with parents, a lot of education, teach online, and enjoy what I do. It's a great job to help, try and prevent this stuff. And what's amazing is it's completely it's preventable. Parents are like the most important tool in this whole mission. Like an educated, prepared family can really stop sexual abuse, and so that's super powerful.
That's great. I don't think we could agree more. We also use Darkness to Light here at Small Talk, and we're strong proponents of that. We've all been trained in it, and
Oh, good.
yeah, it's absolutely really such an important topic, because so much of the work that we do is reactive. It's in response to abuse, but we also have the capacity and the ability to prevent it in the first place.
Right.
Ideally, we can just run ourselves out of business by bringing Darkness to Light. Hopefully that's kind of the goal at the end of the day.
I hope so. I hope so too. It would be great if we could just eliminate it completely. But I think now, with the past 3 years, things have really changed, and now it seems to be okay to talk about it. And my book, we just did a revision to my book because when I wrote the book 10 years ago, we did some research about private parts and using the anatomically correct words in the book. And back then, parents were like, "Oh no, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't want that in the book." So we didn't include it because we got so much like negative feedback just on the words. But now, it's really important that kids know those words and know how to define them for boys and girls. So we've updated the book and like included the terms, and it's nothing graphic. There's no pictures of private parts in the book, but like we refer to like a glossary, and then there's some resources on our website. So things are changing, and we're trying to change with it.
That's
That's
incredible.
great. Yeah, we talk about that all the time in our work, that it's so important. So we're excited to see the next revision of your book and to be able to use it with the kids who we serve. So, Kimberly, we definitely have a lot more questions for you lined up, but first we kind of just wanted to get to know you in a little bit of a fun way with our icebreaker wheel.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull that up and share my screen with you. And all of our guests use the wheel, so we haven't had any too embarrassing moments yet at this point.
I'm not the first.
Okay. Can you see the wheel?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I actually can't read the wheel because my eyes are so bad, but so yeah, we'll work with it. Is that my question?
That's all right. I'll read it for you. We're going to spin it first, and then your question will come up. Okay. So this one's kind of relevant because we're all probably wishing for a vacation right now, being kind of stuck at home. So whether it's one that you've been on before or maybe one that you would really like to go on, what would be a dream vacation of yours?
I actually went on my dream vacation 2 years ago. I went to Nicaragua to a resort called Tricasa, which was like in the jungle, and I was sleeping like in a tree house, and the whole thing was organic farming and farm to table food, yoga, music, beautiful people, like just amazing friends, and it was a retreat. So it was like a mind body wellness retreat, and I went with my sister. So I had no kids, no husband, no nothing. It was great. So it's like a self-care vacation, which I highly recommend for any mom or anybody really. It was amazing. So that I've had it. I would go back in a second.
Nice. It sounds so relaxing just hearing you talk about it, so I can't imagine actually being on that trip.
It was great. It was amazing. And I lost 5 pounds because I ate all that good food, and I was hiking up and down trees, and it's gorgeous there. So
Great. Thank you. Okay, so now what we're going to do is obviously we've kind of mentioned the book that we're going to focus on today that you've written, which is I Said No, a Kid-to-Kid Guide to Keeping Private Parts Private. So we were hoping that you might be able to just read a couple of pages from that book to us and share with people who maybe have not read it themselves yet.
I was just thinking when we were talking, one of the most important things about reading this book is reading it the right way. And a lot of people skip. I have little, I don't know if you can see, but in the first page, it's how to read this book to your kids. So would that be okay if I read that first?
Yeah, that'd be great.
When you don't read this little instruction manual and you read the whole book in one sitting, you're going to overwhelm your kids. And I don't recommend that because this is a tough topic. So it says how to best use this book, a note from the author. In order to prepare children adequately for the various kinds of situations that may arise, this book covers a fairly wide and important group of topics for children. To be prepared, children must adequately understand and truly absorb this material. With this in mind, I Said No gives caregivers and children a number of opportunities to stop and discuss topics, as well as practice effective responses. Discussions with trusted adults and rehearsal of appropriate responses will help both you and your child feel confident that they are truly prepared. For this reason, reading this book entirely in one sitting is not recommended and can be overwhelming for your child, particularly younger children. I would recommend the approach of breaking each segment into a small, short reading. We read a section at a time, take time to look and discuss the talking points, and then put it away for another day. So that's where I would really, focus the parents on. And also maybe as a parent, read it once yourself before you get into it so that you know what's coming. So, all right. And so the first page, I'm a kindergarten teacher, so I'm always like, y'all are my students today. So this is the first page, and it's an illustration of my son, and it just starts off real simply in a conversational manner. My name is Zach, and this is my mom. I had a not so good time at a sleepover party last year. My mom always said, keep your privates private. So what are privates? Private parts for boys are the parts of your body that are under your underwear. Private parts for girls are the parts of your body that are under your underwear or undershirt. There are doctor names and lots of other names for your private parts. We are sure you have heard a few of them. You might want to talk about some of those names now. So that's the first 2 pages, and that would be a good place to stop whenever whenever there's a, you might want to talk about that with your mom or your dad or your parents now, then that question just leads into like a big conversation, and it's a good way to just stop, put the book down, and then come back. So.
Perfect. Thank you for that recommendation. I think that's a really good way. It seems to help to keep it manageable for kids, but also for parents who might feel a little bit uncomfortable starting that conversation.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I hear a lot from parents that like one of the reasons why they don't tackle this topic is because they feel awkward and they have baggage and emotional attachments to some of these topics. Some parents might have been abused as a child or as an adult, and so the whole thing can be extremely hard. So I think it's really a good idea to just get into it slowly and gently and have just open communication.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, Kimberly, you've already told us a little bit about why this topic, is so near and dear to your heart and why you feel it's really important. And, sometimes until it happens to somebody and you're aware of that, it doesn't always feel like it's a super prevalent thing, child sexual abuse, until you really know the rates. So why do you feel it's important for us to kind of get the word out and work on prevention?
Well, from my point of view, starting young with kids and like teaching them their body boundaries and private part rules and consent, that whole topic I feel like has to start very young, but also it needs to be a conversation that continues till your child goes off to college. And it's going to change. Like you're going to talk about different things with your 5-year-old, and then when they're 12, we have more of like sexual education and like rules about dating and like how alcohol plays into consent and all of that. But I do think if you start early and you have a really firm basis, then when you get your child to like the college age, they're going to be able to protect themselves, they're going to make better choices, and they're going to be empowered. And when I was in college, my parents didn't tell me any of this stuff. When I was in college, I had my freshman year, I had an event with a sexual assault, and it had to do with drinking. And I had a few beers at a party, and long story short, I did not report it. I called my mom and told my mom. And back then it was very, like, oh, if you tell anybody, you're going to get kicked out of your sorority or people will judge you. Or, there were all these things she told me not to do. And I blame myself because I had 2 or 3 beers. And so, now learning about all this stuff and learning about consent and all the discussions we're having on this topic, it could save so much hardship. It can save so much pain, so many victims can be just eliminated just with the knowledge. So I kind of feel like it is one of the most important things that parents can teach their children, because they will encounter it. They absolutely will. Boys, girls, between the ages of 0 to 18, you're going to know somebody who has been sexually abused, or you might have an attempt, or you might be a victim. So you might as well be empowered and be ready for it. In a nutshell.
And it's great that you said, that you shared your experience of, calling your mom in college and being able to, it's different now being able to share things with parents. And why do you think it's important for adults to teach kids body safety and like red flag signs at such a young age?
I guess because it's not something you can just snap your fingers and learn. It's an ongoing conversation. So like with kids, and as a teacher, when I'm trying to teach a child how to read, or I'm trying to teach them how to memorize something or learn a new concept, it's all about repetition. And kids, the messages sink in when we keep on talking about it. So just building on the basics and then like extending it through their life, whatever it is that they need at the time. And also like making sure that your kids can come to you with anything and you're not going to judge them. Like you can say, let's talk about your day. And how was your day? Was it good? Was it bad? You can ask open-ended questions. and say things like, well, you know, can you tell me more about how you're feeling? And just really get your kids talking, because they need to know that they can just come to you. And that's the building of that relationship is, I think, one of the most essential relationships for parents and kids, the open-ended conversations and the trust that, like, you can call them and they will help you, and they will help you if you need it, whenever. I mean, you know, I'm 50 years old. I still call my parents. Sometimes you just need your parents. And so it's important to have that open relationship with them. Did I just say I was 50 years old? Oh, God. Let's delete that.
Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, again for, you know, I mean, I think these are really important topics for us to discuss. And I mean, you know, it just makes me really happy to hear too, like through the revisions in your book, that you're changing some of the language to be, you know, more direct about what this is and why it's so important to talk about it, and to just be really frank and have open, honest conversations with your kids and
Right.
people around you. You know, I think that's a really, it seems like a little thing, but I think it's one of those things that makes a huge difference and is, you know, pretty heroic in a lot of ways. So one of the questions we like to ask all our guests is, you know, especially with all the things that are going on in the world right now, you know, people are really looking for heroes and looking to people to do, you know, go out of their way to do things to help other people. When you hear the word hero, what does that word mean to you?
Well, for me, it means a lot of things. I guess for me, I identify with like everyday heroes that I see, you know, whenever anybody is doing something kind or nice or something that takes extra courage, you know, I would consider them heroic. If you know, a woman drops her this happened with my son a few years ago. We were on a college tour and a woman dropped a bunch of her boxes, and my son and his friend ran over and helped her. Like, little things like that are just ordinary moments that I think keep this world going. But also, like, you know, true heroes that risk their lives, like our healthcare workers, our military, our police officers, the people that are putting themselves at risk, I also really do value and appreciate. And then the people who stand up to fight against things, to like make things better, to change things in our culture, I consider them true heroes too. So it's a mixed collection, but I do appreciate every type of heroic action that I see. And there's a lot of it lately. I mean, you see a lot of good things lately happening.
Thanks for sharing that. We just want to know too if there's, you know, any new information about any books you have out, or some information about your online prevention course, and anything that you want to share with us. We'd love to hear it.
Sure. I have 3 books that I can show them to you. Should I show them to the screen? I have a divorce book, which is it's called When Your Parents Divorce. It's a kid-to-kid guide to dealing with divorce, and it's really a proactive sort of guide to help kids talk about how they're feeling and like what a positive collaborative divorce looks like, and finding some of the unique things that kids go through and the feelings and the emotions they go through, and like talking about it with their parents. So that's that book. And then my most recent book is called Finding Your Fit. And it's about healthy eating, self-esteem, and self-care for kids. So, you know, learning how to have a balanced, healthy life. And it gives each child that reads the book, it gives them some like basic information on health and nutrition, but then also some self-care, meditation, breathing techniques, yoga, and just like concepts and ideas about how to stay mentally and physically well. And then during the pandemic, I've been busy doing some online course development. So I have a few free courses, one on sexual abuse prevention and another one on germs, because I had a lot of parents asking me to write something comforting about what's going on with a pandemic. And then I just recently launched a course on Teachable for parents. It's basically like a comprehensive guide to parents. And it's me just sort of talking in 5-minute segments on various topics, kind of like a mom to mom, just real casual, calm, and like easing our way into these discussions we need to have about sexual abuse. So all those classes are on proactive parenting, and you can link to that through my website, which is KimberlyKingBooks.com. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those things with us. We'll be sure to include your information with this episode. So thank you so much. We really appreciated just being able to hear from you about the wonderful work that you're doing. And again, we use, especially your I Said No book, like on a very regular basis at Small Talk. And it's
here. I'm glad it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. We appreciate your time, and we hope you take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for having me. And when I get a copy of the new book, I'll make sure to send you guys one.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.